Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Preparedness. We got big problems brewing over in China. Yes, so we have a country that has been locking down their people inside their factories, like the Apple factory. They locked everyone in the factory, would not let them leave the compound. They ended up rioting in order to escape and finally were let go. But this country, the country that has built mass camps in order to quarantine people, the country that has locked down whole cities, whole ports in order to put an end to the cough. They have gone through, they have spared no expense, they've spared no withdrawal of rights. They have oppressed their people beyond measure, and suddenly, in just a matter of days, they have decided that actually the cough's not a big deal and that they're going to open up the whole country with no restrictions. They've gone from a zero cough strategy to a no strategy at all. In fact, it almost seems like they're going for herd immunity and they're going to go for it really fast. And so they've taken all the people in quarantine and they've like sent them home. Because, yeah. Now, I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do. I'm not saying that I disagree with that approach, but I will say this. When you see somebody doing something with so much effort, against so much pressure, when they suddenly change their mind, you have to ask yourself the question, why now? And are there ulterior motives? And should we be concerned with the rest of the world? A lot of countries right now are starting to impose requirements and bans on people coming from China. And there are tests and there are all sorts of requirements being put up now. They're not racist now because, we have a Democrat in office. So, that's how that goes. But we have serious things happening, and the question is, what is happening? Why is something big like this changing? And I do have a theory, and I'm going to walk you through that. And it's a very concerning theory, and that is that they have been using the cough lockdowns, and all the responses to that have been prep work for Taiwan invasion. And let me walk you through that. Okay, just news that's coming out from Bloomberg just yesterday, actually. They promised $143 billion investment into developing their alternative chips. So their computer chips, their semiconductors. Naturally, they have been importing those chips from both the United States, but primarily from Taiwan. Taiwan has the biggest chip production plants in the world, and they have been making semiconductors for a very long time. They're very good at it. And China has started this investment process to pour a ridiculous amount of money. When I say $143 billion, that's almost the equivalent of what the United States Defense Department got 10 years ago or something like that. It's a big chunk of money for the United States. But when we start talking about China, which is a lot poorer than the United States, they don't pour $143 billion into their military every year. And so when we start talking about this type of investment, we're talking about a massive amount of money. Just yesterday, they canceled it. Wait, what? So you don't need semiconductors anymore? You don't need computer chips? Wait, where are you going to get them from? And China's like, Oh, by the way, we're opening up our whole country because people are going to have to move around. Oh, why are lots of people going to have to move around, China? Why is that going on? Okay, so let me go through my theory here. Number one, that they used the cough lockdowns as a smokescreen for detention of dissenters and problem people. Think about it. You can make people disappear, and then you can be like, "Oh, they died. It's so sad." They went to the camp and they got really sick and they died. Who's to say? Who's to say? right? Oh, by the way, you can't see the body because, you know, cough, cough. Yeah, you can't, sorry, they just died, you know? So you can make a whole lot of dissenters disappear. Also, the lockdowns and the crackdowns really pulled the problem people out to the surface and allowed them to be, you know, diagnosed. You know what I mean? Diagnosed and disappeared. I believe that they used that in order to get rid of a whole bunch of people. I believe, too, that they used this as a smokescreen to move a lot of troops into place. Repeatedly, the areas across from Taiwan were hot spots in this. They kept locking those cities down, and they kept moving in troops. And they moved those troops in, put on the hazmat suits and everything like that. But then those troops are more pre-positioned for what may come next. Number 3, they used this as cover to build mass detention camps near the coast, potentially for prisoners of war. Once they invade, they're going to have a lot of people they're going to have to handle, and we got reports of places like Guangzhou having a camp constructed, a massive camp constructed for 250,000 people. And it just so happens to be encircled with razor wire, and we're talking about a very large camp constructed just in the last number of months, and then suddenly they don't need it anymore. Gee, wonder what they're going to use it for. When you start talking about the cities right next to Taiwan, it's hard to find any news whatsoever, and that is for good reason. Number 4, they used it to get rid of all foreigners. That's right. They kept giving a whole bunch of news stories in places and see who reports on it, and then make sure that those people disappear. So basically all the locals that are passing on information were disappeared, and all the people that foreign correspondents, foreigners who would pass information along, have been strongly encouraged to leave, and over the last number of years have been forced out, essentially. They shut down all of the English training in person, English training in China, and also all of the off-site English training in China. So the contact between locals and foreigners have been severed, and who's there to report on things as they develop? There really aren't many people left, and most of the foreigners have left. Most of the foreigners left in China are at the embassies, and they're not straying too far away from those. Number 5, they used the lockdown to stock up on computer chips, as well as stock up on a whole bunch of other stuff too. They slowed down production significantly, but they did not slow down their purchases quite so much. So they have a bunch of extra stuff. They do not publicize what their strategic petroleum reserve is at, but projections are from foreign agencies and such like that suggest that their first round of strategic petroleum reserve tanks can hold up to 511 million barrels of oil, which, considering that they purchase about 580 million barrels per year of oil. Now remember, that's also them stocking up still, so that's about a year's worth of oil imports. Now they do produce about 30-ish% of their own oil domestically, but they still import a very large portion of their oil. So they have in their oil reserves approximately a year's worth of oil, which is a lot of oil. That's a lot of oil, folks. They've been stocking those tanks up, and word is that they've been constructing new tanks and been stocking up those tanks too, but I haven't been able to find hard numbers or any confirmation on that. In addition to that, you know, that brings the question of why they're opening now. Why they're opening now. They need their economy firing on all cylinders. So if they're opening up in order to get their economy going so that when they impose an economic blockade or potentially a military blockade on Taiwan to starve it into submission, or if they do a fast attack, they need their economy to be very strong, because they're going to get hit with sanctions. They're going to get hit with everything that we did to Bear Country over there, we're going to do to China. And that's a concern to them. And so they need to get their economy really ready for that. Also, moving that many troops all over the country is really going to just make kind of quarantining pointless, really. When you're moving that many people around, in confined spaces, it's better to just go for herd immunity, which is kind of what it seems like they're going for right now. And so we're seeing across the board that China is making some big strategic moves. They're making big shifts. They have done more practice bombing raids on Taiwan. Before, it was just fighter jets kind of flying up to the airspace and flying around Taiwan and that kind of thing. Now they're actually having full bombers with fighter escorts actually doing bombing runs, coordinated bombing runs from multiple directions, moving towards the targets. And the simple fact is that how can you tell a threatening fake bombing run from a real bombing run? You really only have a few minutes difference one way or the other. And so when you see them coming at you day in, day out with these fake bombing raids, what happens when one day it's not fake? And suddenly the bombers go into the airspace and start hitting air defense installations, start taking out radar sites, start taking out things that are going to make it very hard for Taiwan to kind of fight back. And all that could happen like that and any day. And they've been preparing for a joint air attack, as well as naval assets moving around to encircle the entire island to make it so that nobody can come to their aid, including the United States. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now, is that they are moving all their pieces into place. And is this going to happen, or is this them threatening this happening in order to force Taiwan into capitulation? But I will put this out there. I don't know anyone who really sees Taiwan ever agreeing to just become part of China again. I don't see anyone in Taiwan supporting that idea. I don't see anyone in the West thinking that that's what's going to happen, that China is going to be able to pressure Taiwan into just rejoining. So I have a hard time imagining that China is thinking that they can just ramp up the pressure. I see that them ramping up the pressure is actually making it so that a surprise attack would not be seen coming. They are preparing to do what they're going to do faster and faster and faster. They're getting everything into place. They're getting the country prepped and ready because they've been telling the country that the cough is the worst thing in the world, and suddenly they're like, it's not a problem anymore. Just go ahead and do whatever you want to do. After all the dissenters, after all the problem people have been disappeared, and now with no foreigners in the country, it's a matter of them just shifting their resources and suddenly telling their people the real problem in the world wasn't the cough. The real problem in the world is Taiwan and the people backing them, the United States. They're the real people that are a problem in the world. Also combine that with the fact that Bear Country is planning a massive winter offensive, supposedly. And you start seeing a recipe. We've seen Putin and Xi meeting multiple times. And what are they talking about? What are they preparing for? What are they getting ready for? That is some serious questions, folks. And both of those guys are the ones who actually are going to push the button on actually launching these attacks. And if they do them simultaneously, will the United States be prepared to respond to both of them? Are we going to respond to both of them? Do we need to respond to them? Those are going to be some serious questions. But the fact that they just pulled back all their funding to the massive semiconductor computer chip production, I think is a red flag there too. We're seeing more and more red flags. I'm not at the point of saying it's going to happen or to give you a timeline on it, but I'm saying that it seems like they're getting ready for it, whether it's a bluff or whether it's the real deal. And what the timeline would actually look like, I don't know, but I'm going to keep looking. If any of you guys have information that either supports or contradicts what I've just suggested, I appreciate hearing from it. You can always email me at poplarpreparedness@gmail.com. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter already, make sure you do check out in the description down below to find the link there to sign up for the newsletter. It's free and it goes out every Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video useful or helpful, you might want to check out this other video right here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar out.